What is going on to you, Virgos? So you actually have the Page of Swords, the Ace of Pentacles, and you Virgos have the King of Swords. Oh, why does it look like that? Anyway, whatever. So you have these three cards right here, right? So warm. I ain't even turning on the light in the background. It's too warm for that. It's warm. But what I'm trying to say here for you Virgos, right, is the Page of Swords really does represent a lot of you Virgos. The Page of Swords represents a twofold system, because on the one hand, it represents how other people think that they're being smarter than you, and they're being clever when this is what the King of Swords represents as well. They think that they're being more clever or smart than you by basically drawing the line with you no matter what happens. So anything that's small, they draw the line with you, right? It's always some form of ultimatum. When you're getting to know people, it's always this: you Virgos got to do the most. You got to give them $1 million a minute. You need to make $1 billion a year. You need to get on like this. You need to fly jets and do this and be world renowned, and everybody in the world needs to love you and appraise you and just do all this stuff. And if you can't do that, then you Virgos are useless, right? That's the way that they come at you. But this also represents you Virgos putting a stop to that nonsense. Like, it's a dub. If a person, that's not even realistic. Somebody is going to not like you at some point, right? Somebody is going to not like you. That's just life. Somebody, regardless of, sometimes they don't even have to have a reason not to like you. Just because other people rock with you, that's just enough reason for them not to rock with you. That's it. And I see that a lot of you Virgos have a much more realistic perspective on this. And so you Virgos are just living your life and you're putting your foot down. But why you Virgos are putting your foot down is actually meaningful. The reason why other people are putting their foot down is a means of usury. They think that they can use you and treat you any kind of way, and you Virgos should just sit there and take it. But you Virgos know the difference between right and wrong, because dating and relationships nowadays has become transactional, and it's become a sliding scale as to what people say that they want. So in other words, the goalpost is always moving, right? Like, a lot of the times, not all the times, but a lot of times when people talk to you and engage with you and interact with you, it's this nonsensical ideology of you got to do all this over the top, over the moon, crazy, sensational nonsense. And all of that is real nonsense anyway, nonsensical anyway. And we're going to get into as to why. So the Ace of Pentacles and the King of Swords represents, with you Virgos deciding to not take that type of rhetoric anymore and legitimately actually, you're becoming confident, not arrogant, but confident, more self-defined as to who you are, more accomplished. You're setting out on your own, right? You're not having a whole lot of people help you out, because that's one of our biggest failures too as Virgos, is that sometimes we can be a little bit too dependent sometimes when it comes to having other people kind of want to esteem us and appraise us, because we do so much for other people, but other people don't do jack squat for us. So a lot of the times we can fall back, us as Virgos, and I'm a Virgo myself, right? Born August 27th, 1991. That's Virgo. You dig what I'm saying? An early Virgo. You feel me? So I get the first of the nonsense, you know what I'm saying, that Virgos would get. So we fall back onto the shelf, so to speak, of learned helplessness, of over relying on our friends and all of that type of stuff. And that can end up being quite detrimental to a lot of us Virgos. So the thing is that now that us as Virgos are like, no, we'll do things on our own. We'll, you Virgos have the mentality of you'll do things on your own. You are more independent. You are virginal. And what I mean when I say that, I'm not talking about the deed. I'm talking about the etymology of the word virgin means unmarried. So it means that I'm not saying that you Virgos don't want to get married or any of that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about it from the perspective of you Virgos are free agents. Like, people can't tell you what to do, right? People can't tell you what to do. They're not going to be able to boss you around. They're not going to be able to come at you Virgos with this distorted mentality, this warped mindset, right? Because you Virgos don't care if you have help like that. You're not over relying on friends or people who even act like they're friends, but they betray you later. A lot of you Virgos are getting the message that, the 48 laws of power. Don't over rely on friends to do a lot of things for you, but you can kind of check in with enemies and stuff like this, because sometimes the people that you wouldn't think have your best interest in mind can be more loyal to you with this, because to them it's business. It's a business standpoint, as to where sometimes the people that that are the closest to you, that you Virgos are dating, they will be the ones to kind of cut style on you and, start busting out all types of parameters and ultimatums and and like prerequisites and expectations and all this other type of stuff. And them thinking that they're more intelligent than you. And you Virgos proved yet again that from your own life experience why you're much more intelligent compared to them. Because you as Virgos are like, okay, well, if other people are going to play that game, you don't have to play alongside them. You're playing your own game. And since people want to act like they they're bossed up and just weird, right? They're just real inconsistent with theirs. They're distorted. One minute they cool, the next they don't know what's going on. They seem to have jealousy, seem to have a problem with you. A lot of you Virgos are like, okay, fine, whatever. Like you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And so because of this, the Knight of Wands and the High Priestess, this is now where it is. I start to talk about it from the very beginning. They doing all this type of stuff because of the fact that their minds are distorted, right? They constantly conflate and warp and join together things that shouldn't be joined together. So what happens is it's the ideology of, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, you Virgos need to do this, you need to become someone that is esteemed or do something that is esteemed or whatnot, because of the fact that that's how it is that they praise you. But they don't pay attention to what they're saying about themselves, the fact that they have lowered themselves towards being a commodity. They're not a human being anymore. They have rendered and devalued and lowered their value down enough and beyond, to the point where they're not a human being anymore. They're actually a piece of merchandise, because this is transactional. Because giving you Virgos all those ultimatums is a transactional interaction in the first place. Like, you Virgos are trying to be in love and have good friends and good family and stuff like this. And a lot of people give you transactional relationships and stuff. But while at the same time, and this is why it's so warped and mentally distorted, while at the same time and everything like that, still looking at you Virgos like they still like you. They still admire you for the fact that you Virgos are not relying on friends the way that you used to, and that you're not trying to you're not over reliant on friends to the point where you learn or practice learned helplessness. You know, so the Five of Swords now and the Chariot is about how, because so they have to dub you. They have to dub you now. But they're only dubbing you because they know you're not a very good match for them. They're not a very good match for you. What you Virgos want and what they want, what you value and what they value, is not the same thing anyway. It's not. So the Magician, which is Virgo, right? And the High Priestess, which is also Virgo, right? The Magician right here is about how, and now that you Virgos don't rely on other people because you've learned that life lesson, because us as Virgos, we get a lot of life lessons that we learn. That's part of the reason why we can be more advanced than other people's. We've learned that lesson. So what that means, because we have learned that lesson, it means that we have stopped trying to live with the philosophy of learned helplessness. So we're getting up and we're doing things for ourselves, and we have a lot of secret admirers, like I was talking about, right? The people that remember us in their thoughts but could never actually tell us that they like us, and that can never actually be in a functional relationship with us because they're too broken, they're too dysfunctional for that. Their mindset, they're done for, right? A lot of people in this country gonna end up very poor. And the reason for that is because they spent so much time BSing and not really preparing themselves because of the stupidity that they're caught up with, right? The mind, them being warped and all of that. So us as Virgos, we just still moving forward regardless. Now, why all of this is important is because this is our development right now. The Ten of Swords and the Eight of Swords right here is all about how we took our licks, we licked our wounds, and us as Virgos, the Eight of Swords, we got up and we have learned to walk away from dysfunctional relationships over time, right? When we kept seeing the same quality of person, but in many different people that has different faces, but in principle and in value, they're not actually different. They're very much so quite the same. You understand what I'm saying? So because we us as Virgos, we've learned to take our life lessons, right? For the ones of us that learn from our life lessons, it's put us in a very powerful position, because the Eight of Swords is the ability to really, like I said before, the 8 cards, Eight of Swords, Eight of Cups, Eight of Wands, Eight of Pentacles, are really about like doing things for ourselves. And the Eight of Swords is us as Virgos, at one point, us as Virgos, we can walk away physically, but a lot of the times what puts us in a very compromising position, why we end up going back sometimes in the past, is due to the fact that even though our physical bodies, we have physically walked away, mentally and spiritually and emotionally we haven't, right? So the Eight of Swords now represents we as Virgos are learning to do that. We're learning to not just walk away physically, but walk away mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as well. Financially, just all the leads, right? We're actually learning to walk away. So the thing is that why this is important is because I'm seeing how a lot of people, honestly, who knew us, who still remember us, but are really too egocentric to admit it, but they know that they squandered a real opportunity being stupid, because the ego, the sense of delusion, the delusion that the ego provided was way too much for the mind to take, right? So they end up making terrible decisions, life decisions, that cost them a relationship with you, Virgos, than for them to just sit down, chill out, and see things through. Okay? So now, okay, let's clarify the Eight of Swords. By the way, I do tarot readings privately. Okay? The link to that is in the comment section below. So let's clarify the Eight of Swords. Two of Swords, Eight of Swords, Six of Wands, Wheel of Fortune, Tower. Two of Swords and the Six of Wands. Just pay attention not to guard ourselves, though. We don't want to start being jaded. And the Six of Wands, but also not being afraid to walk away as well. And why all of this is important is because of the Wheel of Fortune and the Tower. Us as Virgos, we have or had a fear of walking away, starting from scratch. What if us as Virgos spend the rest of our lives as single individuals, but we never find anybody? But we know so much about love and all of that, but then how come we're not with anybody? And yet again, Venus falls where Virgo is. Venus, which is the planet of love, falls. Now, why that's important is because I've said this before. Venus is not who you think Venus is. Venus is a planet of trickery also. Right? And Venus, as far as the mythology, loves Mercury or Virgo or Gemini, because Mercury or Virgo or Gemini, right, is the only, or I ain't gonna say the only, but one of the very few that can actually see through the mind game that most people use, that now they call love. So a lot of you Virgos have really kind of woken up. You've woken up in a very big way, right? Not on some woke stuff, but I'm talking about from a real perspective, a spiritual perspective, to realize that things are a lot more simple than what you Virgos may have thought it was. And you Virgos are doing things much more simplistically, and you're getting a lot more results, right? Being single, living your life, talking to whomever, seeing where that goes, and if it doesn't work, then you know why it doesn't work, because you Virgos probably, if you were on point, you probably wasn't interacting with other people to use them or anything like that, but they were interacting with you to try to use you, because they thought that you would get something, because they thought that they would get something out of it, and they didn't even take the time to really get to know you. Because, and I'm gonna go ahead and say something big for Virgos, and only cross watchers is gonna get a chance to hear this, and Virgos themselves, Virgos deliberately make themselves sound boring. We do that intentionally because, of course, some of us can be boring, but for the most part, we do that as Virgos to appear boring, because We like being nonchalant. And the thing is, we like knowing other people's business, because to us that's powerful, knowing what's going on around them. But us as Virgos, we like being nonchalant, and we don't want other people up in our business. Sometimes we want to keep our cards close to our chest, like I was talking about. Thus the magician, right? Having a trick or two, having a card or two up our sleeve, right? So being able to surprise people with things. That's why it is that a lot of people, you know, like what Kendrick Lamar says, sometimes you got to pop out and show people, right? When us as Virgos pop out and show people, people don't know what's going on, because it's a complete 180 of a personality that they thought that we had. But this is the distortion, because they so stupid. They don't ever think, they're so mentally lazy. They don't ever think to themselves, wait a minute, could there be something more to a Virgo than just the boring appearance or the nonchalant, almost like sad, or almost like malaise, right? That we act like we have. And they don't ever think to themselves, maybe the Virgo got way more going on than they're actually letting on. And we really just kind of, we're really just being delusional and really kind of just filling in the blanks. And maybe this is a part of what the Virgo wants us to think. Maybe.